So this time we're going to be reviewing Royce the 5'9", the Allegory, 22 tracks over an hour long. It's actually not going to be 22 tracks because 3 tracks right here are actually less than 50 seconds. One is a skit. The other ones seem to be interludes. It's interesting because I did check my YouTube analytics and I did see that 32%, in the last 90 days, 32% of my audience is actually between the ages of 25 and 34. So you usually think, like, given that I'm 22, I usually thought that it was just going to be 18 to 24. But I do have a very big percentage. 32% is actually very big of my audience that usually comes around and watches my videos is between the ages of 25 to 34. And that is very interesting because I actually do reactions to artists like Kanye, to artists like Drake, to artists like Eminem, J. Cole, that are in their 30s or 40s at this point in time. Those are artists that I actually listen to a lot, but you gotta recognize they're not 20-year-olds at this point. And listen, my favorite feature from the Eminem project was actually the Royce the 5'9" feature on You Gon' Learn. He killed that shit right there. So I really wanted to do like 2 videos, my next 2 videos being an artist of the younger generation, NBA Youngboy, and an artist of the older generation, Royce the 5'9", both being artists that I'm actually new to, that I'm actually getting an introduction to, because even though I've listened to tracks from Youngboy, and when it comes to Royce the 5'9", I've only listened to Cocaine, I've only listened to the features from the Eminem project, haven't really listened to much of Royce the 5'9", obviously, so this will be my introduction to a first album that I know about him. The Allegory, let's see how this is going to be. I do know that he's actually very good with the bars, very heavy in the lyrical ability. Let's see how this is going to be, man. Mr. Grace, intro.
If I gave you $1 million right now, would you buy a candy or a candy store?
A candy store.
How do you say group economics in Spanish?
Economía de grupo.
How do you say barter system?
Here's no evil, sees no evil. Where the oppressor sees no color, the investor sees no other. Searching for soul with a stolen identity. Surface low economically, but this is America where credit is for the privilege and profit is not my amenity.
Damn, this flow right here.
Homicidal, fratricidal cycle of wild, constant, hostile energy. As God is my witness through teary-eyed tyranny. We are the lenders, we are the matriarchs. Only thing we didn't make was slavery laws. A rich man wrote this with a poor man's focus.
This intro sounds amazing right here.
The original physical melanin skin man. Steps to amateurs flying birds. Connected annual to a buying surge. Catching cases like statutory rape. Online acting like natural born slaves. Puppets controlling nothing but shapes. But that shapes our fate.
With actors standing behind me with puppets controlling nothing but shapes. But that shapes our fate. Damn, like that was a tough line right there. Damn, he had a lot of bars right here at the start. Like that intro, the way he really talked about pretty much it was a kid that was being pretty much explained a whole process, just trying to find like independence, but at the same time it's a tough situation for people that are minorities when it comes to, he even mentions like the banks being for the privileged ones. He even talks about rappers from these days. And it's interesting that I actually did do the talk starting the video about the younger generation and the older generation. So obviously he doesn't see every young artist like that, because I could automatically think about somebody that's young that is really good, JID, in terms of maybe the vision Royce the 5'9" has for hip hop. But at the same time, he does talk about like a lot of these rappers currently are promoting things that aren't really necessarily that good, and that when it comes to like allegations they have while they're going through their careers, it's tough like that. But damn, that was a really, really good intro right there for sure. Dope man, Eminem and Cedric the Entertainer. This sound right here at the start though. Bro, this is a completely different sound from what I was expecting. That's tough. So that production at the start, bro, I really wasn't expecting it to be like that at all. I do like the beats so far on the first 2 tracks. I definitely feel, I might be mistaken, but I definitely feel like there's a double entendre right there when it comes to just the way he says dope man. Of course, he's talking about a dealer, but at the same time, he does these references to like Cadillac cars. When I envision it like that, and he's talking about those materialistic things, like I feel like he's also quote unquote talking about a dope man, like literally. But of course he's obviously talking about at the same time a dealer. I might be completely off when it comes to that double entendre, but that's actually what I envisioned it to be. And when it actually gets to the last part on the track, I feel like this might actually be a stretch, but for some reason I thought about a double entendre as well when it came to the part where he says, dope man, can I get another hit? Because the way he says that, I feel like it might actually be talking about another quote unquote hit, as in another track that is actually popular, that might actually help him further into his career when it comes to like looking for independence, as he talked about in the first track. I feel like that might actually be way off, because maybe it's just literally what he's actually saying and it's not intended to be a double meaning, but who knows? That's just what popped into my head. I'm just letting you know. Older generation don't age. Yeah, these beats got old school vibes for sure. Ooh, K-Dot.
They say you are what you eat, but I never ate goat.
Oh shit.
Never compromise on my intellect for the internet. This in these goals.
Never compromise my intellect for the internet. That's a tough line right there. I do like the reference he did to Kendrick when it came to the control verse, the way he might actually spaz. Like, bro, that Kendrick Lamar verse, bro, like that shit is crazy. Like, I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it. Like, bro, that, I was just thinking about it right now, like getting flashbacks. But the control verse, bruh, Big Sean, what the fuck were you thinking when you actually left that verse right there, my guy? That's tough. Okay, now I found it. He says, they say you are what you eat, but I never ate goat. But that's a tough line right there. That's a tough line for sure. Pendulum is going to be the next track. There's going to be a lot of bars right here, my guy. For sure, for sure. Ashley Sorrell.
All my people gonna be speaking what they feel. All my people gonna be eating what they kill. Rob the rich and leave 'em with the fucking bill.
Leave him.
Roll this weed with your degrees.
This piano sounds great.
Y'all come out the closet just to market y'all new garbage. I'm inside your bitch apartment. Too narcissistic to be licking carpet. Too artistic to nut. This a catharsis. Labor for your racist Caucasian bosses. Talking straight into a wire while it's taped across. My side chick is still burning out. My dick is scorching. Ain't nothing left to eat for the poor or the rich. Video got 4 million hits. Oh shit, somebody chose you rich. Those haven't switched. Look, I'm trying to just survive until my payday.
This is actually... He sounds so smooth right here. Bruh, this had so many great lines right here. Like, there's so many lines I don't even know where to begin with. The way he said, they be coming out the closet at this point to actually try to like better their marketing, like to better their brand and gain more popularity. The fact that they do that right now, like, I'm not sure if he's actually trying to throw like a jab or a diss at Lil Nas X, because he did in a way try to do that, even though we pretty much knew that he already was. Like, that might be a diss to him, but at the same time, I'm not really sure. It was actually interesting. First of all, I gotta, before I forget, I gotta remember, like, Ashley Sorrell, I hope I'm saying that correctly, but she came in completely smooth right here on this track. That was amazing. Like, the production sounds great. The bars from Royce sound amazing, and then Ashley just came in very, very smooth. That was amazing too. But he had this other line right there. Damn, he had so many lines, but like I can't even remember right now. Okay, so he also talked about how people at this point think they're actually rich because they have 4 million views on a YouTube video, and like somebody told them, probably once again in the team, like the label, hey listen, you're actually rich right now because you just got 4 million views on YouTube. Well, that's not necessarily what makes you quote unquote rich. And since he's actually been talking about independence and like actually finding other means to gain capital, so he's definitely looking at it from the point of view, like, try to actually gain multiple streams of income, like try to actually be independent. What he's trying to say is around those lines, because other people, even J. Cole, other rappers, have mentioned the fact that At this point, there's actually streaming farms that actually make some false streams for you, and you could actually look like you're bigger than you are, so other people will actually listen to you.
Not at all shell, nigga be run up under your fool like shopping car wheel. Truck tough like a Bill Tonka, still conquer but still like Contras. Clipping the Ruger cause I was raised different than you are. Nigga, I'm awesome. Come from the swamp and the pond scum. Peon comparing meteors beyond dumb. Tossed in the garbage pail. I'm from the bottom, not from Harvard or Yale, darling.
Knock off your whole tribe with the chopper like Shaka Zulu. Chef the impossible. This is my possible moment of truth. Shouts to Guru.
I love this beat right here.
Dr. J and maybe that Dr. Drew do. I take with Veradon. Y'all make mistakes, not me. I create errors, dog. I'm probably highly regarded as God up in heaven, dog. I play forever, dog.
Play forever.
Hella bars, Nelson Mandela, dog. Draped the face in my jelly, dog.
This guy really said hella bars. Nelson Mandela. Bro, that's a tough line right there once again. Bro, this guy has a lot of bars right here. Damn, that's crazy. That was a tough bar for sure. Damn, he had some of the lines right there, like, of course, he's actually talking about he'll play forever. He's at high regards compared to other people. But, damn, this beat, I don't even know how to explain it because when it comes to the production right here, of course, it's that old school type of vibe, but it's an old school hip hop beat, but at the same time, the only explanation I have when it comes to like a word that could actually describe it is like a chill type of beat, chill type of production. But the way he's spazzing right here is like, it gives you that great contrast right there, like laid back right there when it comes to the type of beat. But the way he's going in is just like, you gotta pay attention to the bars. You gotta actually focus into what he's saying because he's going in for sure. He's going crazy. Let's see how this is gonna be the ice cream interlude. It's only a minute.
An allegory is a story with a subliminal meaning that has a political message. Ice Cream Truck been playing this same song. I bet you don't even know the origin of it.
Ice cream man right
A
here.
white man named Harry C. Brown made a racist ass song coming through your neighborhood playing the same fucking song.
So that's interesting. I really had no idea that that song actually had that origin. So people actually been going on ice cream trucks like playing that song right there. And that actually comes from that. That's crazy. I literally had no idea. That's an interesting interlude. You learn something new every day. For sure, for sure. I actually like the fact that he does talk about, like, he feels like he's outdated when it comes to the sound. And he hasn't actually paid attention to the current sound since the Nene. He said something like that. He tried to actually rhyme that. The sound right here, for me, if this is outdated, bro, like, listen, this is the sound I vibe with heavy. And that's not to get it twisted because I'm somebody who listens a lot to artists like Travis, to heavy melodic vibes, like the current artists for sure, but I could definitely appreciate an old school type of vibe immediately, without a doubt, because this is great right here.
It's all about making the green.
We got Primo on them cuts. We got Pino in them cups. Contraband and quarter panels. I'm the lyrical audio version. I'm on the least recorded the tape. Wifey realer than Lauren London on the corner hustling like a Detroit party. Come to the block and make the papers. Kids hustle on the block. Yeah, we confronted the danger. We never did fear the outcome. We was broke on a mission for the joke. Bitches swallow dick and say gon' Sunday over. This ain't over. We was suckers. Bad bitches with the fat cheese that made us wait on the same pussy like I ran through like a track meet.
Bro, I'm starting to question if there's actually going to be a track right here that I don't actually enjoy, because at this point we're 7 tracks in and it's like every single track so far I've been actually vibing to heavily. DJ Premier, when it came to the beat right here, great. The feature right here from Benjamin, not sure who this artist is, but he came in smoothly as well. Like, so far, like the features that I actually enjoyed the most, Ashley was amazing on Pendulum. The way she came in was smooth as well, like I mentioned previously, but Benjamin right here was actually very, very great. Aware of the other features I'm honestly not aware of like that. I do know some names right here because I know they're from Griselda, but I've literally never listened to them. The only reason I honestly know about them is because, once again, I listen to the Joe Budden podcast, and since they're from New York, they be talking about these artists a lot. But listen, I'm not from that place, so I'm over here from the Caribbean, and I'm from PR, so I'm actually, the music I listen to doesn't actually involve heavy influences from New York mainly, even though I do listen to a lot of hip-hop music, but I do know about these artists, so there's a difference right there for sure. Generation is Broken is the next track either way. Simple but captivating beat for sure. Yeah, this sounds like a beat to overcome some shit.
Yellow Wolf, this is your first and your last pass. I ain't gonna put it on blast, your punk ass. You a vulture pundit. I hope you get sober from this. The energy never dies when you are overcomer. It's Jacob Custom makes me fire watches.
Bro, the way the beat came in, like damn.
Has been subjugated by the monsters. Mac Miller died pleading for his life, reciting God's prayer.
Rest in peace to Mac. He did actually talk about Michael Jackson as well. He talked about a lot of people, like MOK, if I'm not mistaken, too. He mentioned him. Damn, bro, this track was like, the best description is all over the place. The amount of switches to the beat was insane. Like, this had such a simple sound that was very captivating at the start. Then it went to this beat that was just great to listen to as well, but completely different from the beginning to then this other completely different beat while he was rapping. And just the amount of different changes right here was amazing. But like, Westside Gunn sounded great at the start, but then, bro, Royce has been killing it right here, like insane. Let's go, Miss Grace.
If you have a bunch of friends who don't do shit, are they an asset or a liability?
A liability.
Who's coming to save you?
Nobody. I have to save myself.
My papa raised me like I'm a dog with rabies, playing the hard and a drop Mercedes.
This beat is nasty.
My arm comes out the car, my window down like I'm trying to borrow some Grey Poupon. Take me nothing to put your life on $1 menu right there by the Egg McMuffin. Why these boys? I don't care if you rap niggas, it's trending topic. Your shit is garbage.
Is there gonna be a bad sounding beat right here, bruh? Is it?
I wanna flip the world upside down and make all you niggas look up to the streets. You can listen the future, but just know who the now is. Watching X-Vids while I'm with your ex-bitch till I'm restless. Don't want me to.
This guy said, watching X-Vids with your ex-bitch. That's a tough line right there. I do like the line where he says, you can listen to future, but I'm the present. FUBU is the next track.
These niggas broke on their dip pocket watching us. They see the watching the jewelry we rocking down much. I let that block on low. I put that pot on the stove. I ain't want a whole nother level, nigga.
This sounds like a menacing beat right here, man. Bro, there hasn't been a track where Royce hasn't gone crazy on a beat. Like, this beat actually sounded menacing. Like, it actually had a horror tone to it, like a horror, scary type of tone to the production. So, just the way those sounds actually just went into the beat, like, it definitely had a horror tone to it for sure, my guy. This is actually featuring Conway, the Machine. I did actually like his verse a lot. If I'm not mistaken, he's one of the artists that is actually from Griselda. So this is actually my introduction to these artists as well.
The box of Jordans. The favorite pair of shoes for a black man.
That chorus though, the way she says, do you stand or run or talk from your computer? That's how a lot of people be nowadays. They actually don't. They know they can't rely on just typing with their keyboards and just not having to actually confront anybody. So at this point, a lot of trolls can just say whatever they want.
Which one are you?
Which one are you?
You think you the people's champ cause people playing your single. Make some corny ass radio Viacom jangle. Got my whole diatribe tangle. Rapper God erupted out of a Comic-Con cano. Commit lyrical homicide. Way to relationships, a ton of perks. Black kids just aggravated and had to take a ton of perks.
Yeah, that's what he said. He says white kids actually graduate and get a ton of perks. Black kids graduate aggravated, have to take a ton of pricks.
Conversations go left, I need violence. She Wallace, I'm okay with a tech. What's became a legend for the skeptics who ain't believing that dude. So I'm here, and careers like a cancer a couple.
Benny actually had a very good line right there when he said, he did a Detroit reference right there to Rasheed Wallace. Of course, I did actually mention the Detroit Pistons recently in one of my reactions. I can't remember if it was actually the Pop Smoke reaction. Rest in peace of Pop Smoke. I think he actually did talk about the Pistons as well. Rasheed Wallace, he was in the Pistons when they won the 2004 championship. And he did actually talk about like, he would actually need a lot of text like Rasheed. If I'm not mistaken, that's what he said. But that was a nice reference right there to Rasheed Wallace. And he did actually do another line right there where he said that he's pretty much ended a lot of careers. Benny actually says that. But pretty much on every single track so far, we've had great verses, whether it's from the Features or whether it's from Royce.
You got black kids growing up with white idols. You got
this sounds like Eminem right here.
It was created by black people. Rock and roll is starting to get some attention, but then along comes Elvis.
So I might be wrong, but I think that's actually Eminem. He actually talks about in the end that at the end of the day, you don't actually get to pick who you are. You just have to live with it, and you actually have to try to make the best out of it. So if you're actually white or you might be another nationality, it's up to you to actually determine how you actually want to take, what path you want to take with your life and how you actually want to live. But at the same time, it's interesting because he's actually right when it comes to Elvis. Like, of course, people call him the king of rock and roll, but before him, there was actually people doing it like him. But since they weren't white, they weren't actually paying attention to them the way they gave the attention to Elvis. So it actually got to the point where they weren't actually recognizing talent that was before the talent of somebody they called the king of rock and roll.
Tricked into thinking since we rap, we get rich. My nigga, that's a farce. It's a lie, we've been tricked. Only thing they taking is your publishing.
Okay, so I like the message of that track when he actually talks about how pretty much it's always a trick. The A&R team should deduct 5, but they deduct 10. He even says that. He says, well, you're actually spending more money than you should in the club and you're just actually spinning around and just partying. They're actually taking advantage of taking away your publishing, actually giving you contracts pretty much that would actually fuck you up as an artist. And that he pretty much talks about how they try to make it seem like you need them, but in reality they need you, they need the artist to actually succeed and be successful overall because you're the one who actually has a fan base. I understand that entirely, but to be honest, this is actually the first track I didn't actually enjoy the way it sounded because just the way he keeps repeating trick is actually not going to be a track that's replayable. For me personally, I didn't just like the vibe it had and the sound overall because it just didn't feel like it was actually something I wanted to go back to or keep listening to.
African Americans in America decided, you know what, man, fuck America, we're going back home. And
true.
Every America wouldn't exist, no one exists.
That would be a lot of value for sure.
Major average rapper reside in Calabasas, mashing the ass through Malagasy and Madagascar. I place value on brothers who never had justice. Gimmicks and imagery, Kendrick Cole and the Kennedys, lyrical holy trinity, general of the city. Fighting all alone. Who don't know the
This is a nice hook right here.
Cause what you read now is what you sow, my nigga. Where your soul, my nigga, goddamn.
For some reason, I feel like I've listened to this before.
Whole lot of hoes, I suppose, on the road to success. You gotta pay the toll, I was told. I'm growing, trying to stay away from foreign niggas.
Is this tip right here?
When the devil show his horns, he enjoy. You don't want Buffett in the grind, you ain't even know it. I should probably get thick, you just be feeding a corn, but you can never be me. Knew who I was before I got out the trap to sell a CD.
Yeah, T.I. spaz right here. I do actually like the way Royce started the track, and he did actually say he finds value in brothers who didn't have justice, not in actually paying attention to a white Jesus and the Last Supper. Like, that was actually pretty tight the way he said that. We've got a lot of tracks right here, so I'm gonna go 2 by 2 and then actually give my thoughts. Let's see how this is gonna be.
Knowledge empowers all you quicker than ignorance disarms you. Pac and Biggie died for you rappers, so you don't have to. That we evolve in the ace. When I seen they homies bleed to death, the ambulance was running late. I ain't dug until your mother know you doing wrong. He was a soldier, can't come home, she kiss him through the phone. Got my first check and put some ice on my neck, drop 10 on my car.
So on these two tracks, he actually focuses, well, specifically on one, he actually talks about how students be aggravated because of the student debt. He pretty much tells, actually in the track Rhinestone Durag, pretty much talks about how a lot of the older generation had to go through stuff so that you didn't actually have to go through those stuff and actually have a better opportunity. So like take advantage of that and pursue your masters. He actually said that. Actually sounds great on every track. This might be the slowest track right here. Bro, bottom line, without a single doubt, this is an amazing project. This is a great album. I pretty much enjoyed every single track on this project. The only track I didn't like was Tricked, but this has 22 tracks and everything else I enjoyed it. The intro was amazing. The production right here is insane. Like there's some tracks right here, like Jesus Christ, like the beats are just from menacing to actually having different type of tones to that track that I mentioned in the reaction where it had so many different type of switch ups while they were rapping. That was just great. Even though it actually felt disjointed, that was like an actual benefit to the track. It actually worked for the track, if you get what I'm trying to say. There was so many great tracks and so many great bars and lines like I mentioned previously. He pretty much has the theme once again of actually succeeding even though the circumstances are tough, and pretty much a lot of emphasis in trying to actually help each other when it comes to the black community to actually succeed overall. He talks about how even though it might be where the situation for high school black kids might be tough in the sense that they feel aggravated and pretty much depressed and actually have to take perks, that at the same time he tries to uplift them, letting them know that the situations were also very tough for his generation, and he actually had to go through things that made it so that you didn't have to go through them. And he actually says to pursue your masters, like I mentioned previously. Has a lot of different lines and verses that actually look to uplift overall his community. So that's a very, very obviously a great sign, and he definitely delivers it in a very, very pleasant listen, a very enjoyable album, a great listen, because I enjoyed pretty much the entirety of this project, and just the message was great, the tracks were great, the verses were great, the features, like I just kept talking about how smooth Ashley sounded on every single track. Westside Gunn and the other members of Griselda, if I'm not mistaken, is the group. They sounded great right here too. Man, Vince Staples, T.I., Premier. This is a great album. Let me know down below in the comment section what you thought about this. Let me know if you're actually around that range, if you actually finished this entire review, because it's going to be hella long. But let me know if you actually are from the range that I mentioned, the 32% that is between age 25 and 34. And if you actually enjoyed this, let me know down below in the comment section. Once again, subscribe for some of the reactions, some of the videos. Great album. The Allegory, Royce of 5'9". I'm out, bro. Take care. Great project for sure.